In the hollowed halls of the psychiatric hospital, a now dead man finds himself trapped within the labyrinth of his own mind. Was the government really trying to get to him? What if you're the one person stuck in a hospital with what they're calling paranoid delusions, when in fact everything you're saying is just fact-based fear? 2003 would bring the end of this man's life. From the depths of this guy's fractured psyche is a gripping tale, and it actually involves secret government signals and a conspiracy that actually turns out to be true. Tinfoil hat wearing street rambler isn't just some ordinary guy. He was actually a physicist who worked for the military at one point and was involved in scientific research and was involved in some dark government secrets. His residence actually overlooked the Manzano weapons storage area, part of the Air Force Base in Dulce, New Mexico. As the man pursued his interest into alien signals and UFOs, he truly became a problem for the government, and they'd play with his life. If you want to hear the full story about this dead guy, click the link in the bio, or just keep listening on. In the heart of the Sunbelt, nestled between the Rio Grande and the Sandia Mountains, lies the bustling city of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Known for its vibrant culture and its unique blend of Native American, Hispanic, and Anglo influences, this southwestern metropolis is where our story begins. Born on September 29, 1927 in Chicago, Illinois, Paul Bennewitz found himself migrating to the enhancing desert landscape of New Mexico later in his life. I can't believe that anybody really moved to New Mexico voluntarily. An accomplished physicist, he held a master's degree in physics from the University of Colorado. He was on a path to establish himself as an esteemed dude in the scientific community. Smart guy, fucking nerd. His enterprising spirit leads him to the inception of Thunder Scientific Corporation in 1962. Co-founded with Bob Thunder, the company was based in Albuquerque. How cool is that guy? Bob Thunder. I'm Bob Thunder. Anyway, an ideal location given by its proximity to several research institutions and military bases, Thunder Scientific quickly gained recognition for precision humidity calibration equipment. I guess it just tells you how dry it is. Yeah. In this vibrant business environment, Bennewitz prospered both intellectually and financially. His tranquil life was mostly encompassed by his scientific pursuits. The successful running of Thunder Scientific and his quaint, idyllic residence overlooking the Manzano weapons storage area was the perfect setting for what would come. His world was a composition of physics equations, meticulously designed sensors, business deals, and rocks from the desert, and sand, and being that he's in the desert, sand in his vagina. However, beneath the calmness of his everyday life, the wheels of an unanticipated mystery were gradually starting to turn. 1979. Bennewitz finds his attention inexplicably drawn to the night skies over the Manzano weapons storage area. Located adjacent to the Kirtland Air Force Base, this military installation was known for its critical role in the storage and maintenance of nuclear weapons. However, it was not the base's terrestrial activities that piqued Bennewitz's interest. Instead, it was the particularly odd spectacle unfolding right in front of him, lights dancing around the sky. Bennewitz, who held a fascination for UFOs, swears he's not on fucking LSD like Stompin' Tom and Gordy Lightfoot, but he's seeing what he sees. He is an amateur ufologist after all, so he's definitely fucking reliable. Studying and contemplating the possibility of extraterrestrial life was one of his hobbies, and as we're going to find out, he really should have picked a different one. Bennewitz, he is out. So during this particular night, it's tranquil. The stars and satellites are out flickering around, flicking stuff, and these lights start to move over the base in a way that he's never seen, and with agility that defies what he would describe as conventional physics or aircraft capabilities. The presence of these lights started to occur somewhat frequently. Bennewitz became like a cat chasing a laser pointer. He just needed a saucer of milk, and all he got was a flying saucer. Anyway, not one to let this anomaly go unexplored, Bennewitz embarks on a meticulous monitoring campaign. Using all the tools at his disposal, cameras, binoculars, and a ceaseless curiosity. Imagine being a police officer fucking pulling this dude over. You'd have some questions. Anyway, he begins to document this nightly spectacle. He swears he's not stalking people. Every strange movement he starts to record. He starts capturing the dancing objects to the best of his abilities. It started to become somewhat of an obsession. It consumed his life a little bit, and it became almost like a vigil every night. He would go out to see these lights, and truly just became like I guess you would say, a singular fixation. Anyhow, it was fairly uneventful at this point, and little did he know that this little light of his would be, somebody got territorial over it and was like, this little light is mine. And we'll get into that. So as the months passed and he's documenting all this stuff, one of the things he has as well is radio equipment. He has an array of electronic devices at his house, including antennas, signal detectors, and being like a space nerd, he's got the ability to set this stuff up, and he decides one of the things he wants to do is a kind of self-proclaimed cryptographer. He wants to decode alien signals. So he's going to get the signals from these little lights bouncing around. So late in the night, he would start to pick up signals. The erratic pulse and bursts of electronic communication seemed to emanate from the same mysterious sources as the lights. With each passing day, the puzzle pieces began to coalesce into a picture that fueled his obsession further. Driven by a mix of scientific curiosity and fervent belief that aliens were fucking there and getting him, extraterrestrials did exist, his analysis began, and he started to see that these signals were far more than just some random electromagnetic noise. He became convinced that they were intelligent, coded messages that had a silent yet profound dialogue between the craft that were like going around. So he's saying these things are communicating, there's information being passed along, and there's more to the story, he says. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of Bennewitz's discoveries was his conviction that these earthly signals were linked to the abduction of humans. He asserted that alien crafts were not just silently observing us from a distance, but they were actively engaging and operating with a disturbing agenda of testing the unsuspecting citizens of Earth. So this terrifying narrative that he comes up with obviously is probably alarming for his family, but he's convinced of this. And his conviction would catalyze his actions to come and secure his place in history of, I guess you would say, UFO history. Anyway, so he starts contacting some folks in the field to say, hey, what's up? But being a former military man, he does share this information with the military. So in 1980, Bennewitz's pursuit of the lights really starts to deepen, and his theories about the aliens and things start to reverberate more and more throughout the military community. And he didn't try to hide this stuff from the military. The conversations that he reported this information to the base, all this stuff starts to get the attention of the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, AFOSI, for the purpose of the rest of the podcasters. We're going to call it the Air Force. I don't fucking know what I'll call it, okay? Anyway, established in 1948, the AFOSI, the AFOSI, was known for its extensive jurisdiction encompassing criminal investigation and counterintelligence services. So, these guys catch wind of Bennewitz's crazy ranting. And it's got to be crazy. It's aliens. So dealing with matters both terrestrial and in this case possibly extraterrestrial, this government department picks up this case file and they decide they're going to look into them. So two AFOSI agents, Richard C. Doty and Jerry Miller. Now, I'm just going to pause for a second there. In case you're familiar with any of this stuff, Richard C. Doty's name is synonymous with a lot of controversy in kind of the UAP, UFO, whatever you want to call it, community, because he was admittedly a former, he's confirmed, confirmed former government disinformation agent who like literally ran disinformation campaigns for the government and then turned into a whistleblower. So it's like naturally there's a lot of skepticism with all of this story because you've literally got admitted government disinformation people connected to it. So believe what you want to believe, but yeah, like anything in this story, if there is disinformation, it serves its purpose because it makes you doubt some of the facts that could be true. Anyhow, Doty, a special agent with a reputed history in the investigation service, was known for his involvement with numerous high-profile investigations, while Miller was a seasoned operative with extensive background intelligence. Intrigued by Bennewitz's compelling claims of unexplained phenomenon, Doty and Miller initiated a dialogue with him. They approached him, and this kind of seemingly ordinary scientist turned amateur ufologist, is cautious at first, but he's becomes really eager to share everything that he's found. Somebody's finally listening to him. So what follows is a series of meetings, communications, and exchanges that only serve to thrust Bennewitz deeper into the rabbit hole. As he found himself under the government's gaze, he was simultaneously catapulted into a world where the lines between reality and deception blurred. This guy was in for a ride. Holy shit, was he ever. So in this new chapter of his life, he's about to get fucked. And unbeknownst to him, there's a lot of plans for this guy. So Project Beta. That's what we're going to get into next. With each passing day, Bennewitz's investigation grew in scope and intensity. So now, with the encouragement of these Doty and Miller, now that he feels validated by the government, he's going to continue looking into this with their help. And yeah, this becomes something called Project Beta this is Bennewitz's terms, FYI. I don't think this is a government name, but Project Beta, yeah, is going to be years of meticulous and relentless observations, documentation, and analysis of all these alien signals and accounts and the UAPs are the unexplained aerial phenomenon. So he's got transcripts upon transcripts of alien communications, meticulously drawn charts, and a range of hypotheses. You go figure that one out. So Project Beta was his true magnum opus, a testament to his dedication in unraveling. It was the thing that was going to get him. It really was. But it's that disease that comes in the door and you just don't know. Maybe it's a person that you let into your life one day and things just start to unravel from that day forward and you don't even realize it. This is what happens. And his first major discovery that happens anyhow during this is he intercepts and decodes a message that he's convinced without a doubt now is extraterrestrial. His scientific background allowed him to navigate this sea of electromagnetic signals that he receives all of a sudden. So he starts compiling now all these signals in this Project Beta that he created, all these years of kind of research and stuff for the government, and it just firms up his chilling hypothesis that he comes up with after decoding all this information, is that there is a underground alien base near Dulce, a small town nestled in the New Mexico landscape. And according to him, this location was not chosen randomly. It was proximity to Native American reservations and military installations, as well as the geographical cover, offered the ideal spot for an alien clandestine operation. This makes sense. His assertions were built on a combination of signal analysis, alleged physical evidence accounts from supposed abductees, and the unshakable belief in Project Beta. So he was he was all in on this. As he dives even deeper into it, he starts to feel more urgent because he starts to feel like there's a growing threat, right? He's talking to the abductees and just he is involved in that kind of I don't know what you call like paranormal UFO communities that have conventions and things like that. And he's like, I would say like, I guess a professional in that community. Yeah, he was a pro, not a hooker either. And Bennewitz, anyway. So Bennewitz, yeah, he's all in, 100% committed to this alien thing. He's doing one better though so far than this Stan Romanek guy, if you haven't heard about him, this fucking crackpot that believes that he's got an alien wife that he fucks, and like she comes down and fucks with him, and she's basically been fucking him since he was a kid, which that's fucking rape. So it's an alien rapist story, and it involves him getting an alien pregnant and getting to go back and forth and have his regular family and his alien family. He's also convinced that's real. So yeah, that community is interesting. Medicated. Anyway, that's the whole point of that though, right? That's the whole point of what a thing called government disinformation campaigns are about. It's about making you think those people are crazy fucks and encouraging people that might be mentally ill or out there or eccentric to get involved as well. Anyway, as Bennewitz dives into that labyrinth right even more, and so his interactions become more and more frequent with the investigators, with Doty, and he is like really starting to think we got a fucking national security concern here. Like we got a pre-9/11 9/11 on the horizon, and you guys got to do something. And that's exactly what they're gonna do. They're gonna do something, all right. So behind the veil of intrigue and secrecy, a different narrative was playing out, which is orchestrated by the very people he believed were his allies in the quest for truth. The agents of the AFOSI, the AFOSI, in particular Richard C. Doty, reputed for his skills in intelligence and counterintelligence, began a counter-operation, or an operation, I don't know what you would call it, that would later be recognized as one of the most infamous instances of government-led disinformation in the UFO kind of history. Instead of validating or debunking Bennewitz's findings when he originally came to the military, Doty reportedly started feeding him calculated snippets of deceptive information, both confirming and enhancing Bennewitz's deepest fears and suspicions. This included embellishing details about extraterrestrial invasions, covert government operations, and hidden agendas, which added layers of convolution to the narrative of Project Beta. They were not mere idle tales, though. The disinformation was skillfully woven into a tapestry of semi-plausible narratives and selectively revealed secrets. They were designed to keep Bennewitz invested and to steer him away from what the government considered a more sensitive area of concerns: the weapons. The psychological manipulation was intended to distort his perception of reality while keeping him occupied with a web of deceit, while obscuring whatever the true intents or whatever they were up to was truly kept hidden. This is the ultimate fucking gaslight. They took perhaps some of that was slightly paranoid already and fed into this person's absolute worst fucking fears to protect their secrets. I wonder if they would have been better off to fucking kill him, because this seems to me like it might have been a life worse than death. Anyway, we're gonna move on. This is the stuff that's happening. Then this all comes out, and I just want to talk about this a little bit. So Doty, like this shit, that was confirmed. Like Doty, I believe, is still alive today. You can go and see, there's a ton of interviews. He speaks out at UFO conventions. He's doing interviews pretty much in any UFO documentary. He's very well known. Now, it's funny though, because like he's admittedly was a US, like he was a counterintelligence disinformation guy, propaganda guy that would be involved in a lot of these kind of similar stories where he's fucking with people that were loud about any kind of government conspiracies. So how do you believe him now? That's the issue, right? Like, how credible could any of this be? Is he really on the alien people's side now? Is he really a UFO guy that became a whistleblower about all this disinformation, or is he still working for the man? Just to be politically correct, it could be a woman too, or whatever they them decide to identify as. We're a progressive podcast. You can cut off whatever you want, and we still love you. All right. The downward spiral. Okay. As you can imagine, this... So, obviously, Bennewitz isn't aware that these guys are lying to him and having him... Like, I know how people are. I know how people are behind closed doors. And you know that these guys are fucking chuckling about this. Like, you couldn't not be. So, as you can imagine, things start to unravel for Paul. He's getting more and more stressed. He doesn't know these guys are lying to him. He has no idea this is disinformation. He genuinely believes aliens are coming to fucking kill us. And not the kind that you can keep out with a wall. And I just want to clarify, I'm making fun of the wall, not the people, like the aliens people, the illegal aliens. I don't think you should call them aliens. Interterrestrials. Bennewitz. Anyway, back to Bennewitz. So this guy, like, obviously, he's truly convinced everyone's going to die, everyone's going to get abducted and have little alien babies from the alien rapists. And the amount of energy that he's putting into this obviously starts to take a toll on his physical health. Now, his sleepless nights spent monitoring the skies because there's all these fucking signals coming in. The government needs him to decode them. And you better decode them for the government, because I would if the government made me. Not that they would get me to, because I can barely get my pants on in the morning. Anyhow, this stress starts to get to this guy. And he starts to realize, he feels like literally the whole entire world is on his shoulders. And the mental strain of this starts to really fuck with him. And the implications aren't small. His spewing about alien theories and constant uncertainty about government involvement starts to alarm people around him. And his sharp mind with the stress, he starts freaking out and spewing off these, like, what people would consider conspiracy theories. And he's hospitalized. So he's put into a mental hospital because he's trying to convince people that he's getting alien signals and the government's involved in some kind of, the government kind of knows about this stuff. And he literally becomes like the exact stereotype of the tinfoil hat character. And he's in there, and I can't imagine what he's going through at the time, because he's a sane man that's been convinced that he's insane. And that has to be just horrible. And what's happening now, this becomes his life of in and out of the hospital, essentially broken from the stress, completely discredited. It doesn't matter what he's seen now. Nobody will believe him. He's alienated from the scientific community, pun intended, and his personal life is destroyed. And he's gone crazy. And ouch, man. Ouch. Not cool, guys. Not cool, Doty. So, the ripples created by the repeating cycle of alien attacks and invasions and hospitalizations got to a point where, like, this guy, like, he just stopped talking to anybody. And it truly became something that I wish he would have kept talking about it. But you can't blame him, because I can only imagine how much more there truly is to this story. For example, he was investigating people who he believed to be credible witnesses, or people who were credibly saying that they were abducted by aliens, which a lot of people could speculate that has also been used as a cover for the government to abduct people and do tests. And among these people that he investigated and was involved with was Linda Moulton Howe, John Lear, and Bill Moore. Okay, yeah. So there was a lot of, this is the unforeseen victims that also happened. So this guy's life is ruined. But here's this is the unfolding of the intention of why they were lying to this guy in the first place. So he is heavily involved in the ufology or UFO community with several well-known people who are following him very closely. A well-known journalist named Linda Moulton Howe, then he had John Lear and Bill Moore, They're all respected figures. And we're hook, line, and sinker supporting the fella Bennewitz. And so as Bennewitz is hospitalized and starts to come out as like a crazy guy and is completely discredited, the dominoes fall. And the entire fucking community gets discredited as crazy tinfoil hat wearing people. And it blows my mind. Like, one of the people was actually John Lear, who is a former commercial airline pilot and the son of the Learjet inventor. And again, like, he's caught up in that controversy and becomes, honestly, like, even humiliated by all this. Like, they're all become outcasts and made to all feel crazy. Because, yeah, I guess Doty was good at what he was tasked to do. You can't deny that. So throughout the rest of Paul's life, like I mentioned, like, he stopped talking to people. He had this constant battle in his head. Like, he completely crumbles and he descends into, like I said, eventually madness. His family has him institutionalized. Oh yeah, I forgot to kind of mention that. Imagine also you're in the hospital because you've gone crazy. Your family puts you there because they think they're doing best by you. But yeah, like, that just had to be heartbreaking for him. And yeah, like, right up into his death in 2003, that was the end for him. Like, he had enough and he lived out his days like as a paranoid kind of thinking he was fucking a paranoid. Either, I don't know what he would have thought, but he thought whatever he believed the reality was and what everyone else's reality were two different things, when he wasn't even crazy. Poor dude. And yeah, like, he was completely silenced. His story didn't really truly come out until, like, the UFO community investigated more and more. Wait, 1 second. So after Paul's death, a series of, like, revelation investigations started to shed light on not only his life, the science that he did, what happened. And actually Richard Doty comes out as in a whistleblower role and says, yeah, nope, he wasn't crazy. We did that. And eventually journalists do put together, like, this entire story, and it paints, like, a pretty credible picture that it's almost an undeniable picture that, like, yeah, like, he was just subjected to a horrible disinformation campaign. Man, I guess one thing I tried to think of back then, like, maybe the government, like, coming out of the Cold War, like, doing stuff like that, they in the US may have been, it's kind of like they themselves were paranoid to go to these lengths to protect their country or protect their citizens, that they would do something that's crazy. It's like, they're the crazy ones, man. Anyway, I want to talk like, this disinformation thing. I just want to say too, that's not like a one-off, like, this is the one time that it happened. It is a constant, it's a well-known tactic that's been used not only around the world by different agencies, not just agencies, companies, corporations, but disinformation's a tool that's commonly used in the intelligence community. And it's a powerful tool. Look at what it's done. It discredited an entire UFO research industry for how many years to come, with probably some cheap fake radio signals and a couple flashlights. And I want to give you some examples. Like, we have, here's one that was talked about that never happened. The Department of Defense had a proposed plan codenamed Operations Northwoods. The proposal to simulate or commit acts of terror on American and Cuban exile targets. And they would be falsely attributed to the Cuban government as a prelude to justifying military intervention in Cuba. This macabre jet plot was fortunately quashed by President Kennedy. That was just one of the plans that got leaked that never actually got carried out, but some stuff actually did, known as Operation Chaos. Initiated a widespread surveillance operation aimed at the American people to target anti-war activists and embed themselves in groups. This operation involved unsanctioned wiretaps and mail opening that really pushed the boundaries of legality and ethics. The Operation Mockingbird. This was a mission to influence foreign and domestic media during the early days of the Cold War. Despite the agency's claim of its termination in the 70s, there's still whispers on the internet of similar stuff being out there in media control. I don't know, man. Come on. You don't really think the media and the government would collude with each other? And rich people would collude with each other? Come on. Get out of here, man. I fully convinced that in 2023 that the powers that be have our individual best interests at heart. We have things that were declassified through something called the Church Committee, the Rockefeller Commission in the 1970s, which kind of outlined a lot of this stuff. You have declassified documents such as the Family Jewels documents released in 2007, which confirmed the existence of Operation Mockingbird and the CIA's influence in media outlets. You have whistleblowers such as former CIA officer Frank Snepp and Carl Bernstein, who provide insights. You have Air Force guy Doty there. And yeah, like these guys, your Edward Snowdens that are leaking this shit. You can see the war that's going on with Ukraine and Russia, like how much disinformation there is constantly. And that, maybe not to that extent, but we're subjected to that every day, whether it's through advertising, whether it's through false promises on programs that won't ever be carried out by people, or whether it's just to keep things secure. In some cases, disinformation is needed. That's a reality, and I hate to say it because it's like we want to know the truth about everything, but there is cases in national security where it's a thing that's just needed. You got to just distract the enemy. And however, that being said, it really rubs me the wrong way when you start having, in this case, like the US government spying on their own citizens in a way, in applying intelligence activities or covert activities again, like with them in the way you would do it with a adversary that was like an enemy of the state, just because they were weird people doing weird stuff. So yeah, it was just a good example of the way it used to be, I hope. And I don't know, I'm gonna go put my head in the sand and hope that shit's changed, but that certainly doesn't seem to be the case for anybody that's got the ability to read nowadays. I fucking wish you the best of luck. So I hope you found that story somewhat captivating, because it blew my mind, because it sat with me as somebody, like, I just can't imagine what this guy went through. I just can't. And it blows my mind that the fucking very people you pay tax dollars to, the very people that he thought he was trying to help, were literally the people that destroyed his life. And I got a problem with that. You know what else I got a problem with? Not having enough followers. You guys can help me out with that, though. I really would appreciate if you follow while you're listening to this podcast, if I've earned it. If not, if I understand it. We'll get there someday, I hope. Anyhow, we draw the curtain closed on this, but I just wanted to highlight this case of literally, because I don't think you can vindicate this poor man enough. There couldn't be enough episodes out there on the internet about this guy to vindicate what he's gone through. Yeah, because it sounded like he might have been mentally ill before this all happened, and slightly, like a little bit, and they took that. They used it against him. Till next time.